Hello, we're native. Use camera from Expo. So let's see how we're gonna use this. So I've just created a new project and let's start off without wasting much more time. So from the file explorer, let's create a new folder. Let's call it app. This is where we're gonna write all our code. So I'm gonna create a new folder, call it components, and create a new component by the name camera.js. So first off, we should install the package expo camera. Let's install it. It's gonna take a while. So the installation is complete. So from the top, let's import camera from expo camera. This is gonna be a container. So we're gonna have camera in between. Camera, we're gonna have the styles. So I want the container to cover the whole screen, so go to the styles and say flex to 1. I also want the camera to take the whole space, so camera flex to 1, and you go and style this camera. So style, let's link it, say styles goes to styles dot camera. So we're done with the styling. So first off, we're gonna start with the type. So the default type of the camera, the type can either be front or back. So we want the back to be the default type of the camera. So we need a hook because when using a camera, we need to switch between back or front depending on how we want it. So we'll need a state. So here we need a hook. Say use state from React, and the default type should come from camera types, camera type. Okay, let's import it from the top. Import camera type should be from expo camera /build/camera types. Okay, from expo camera. So we're gonna have the default as back. That will be our default. So let's complete our hook. So we're gonna call it camera type or type, but I'm gonna go with type because type is shorter. So let's just go with type and set type. So if you don't understand what we're doing here, type will hold the value as the camera back or front, and setup is a function that we use to update it when we switch it later on. So the prop type is going to be type. I'm gonna link to type. So another prop that we're gonna add here is flash mode. Flash mode. So again, flash mode, we're gonna use a hook, state hook, because we can switch it during the time whenever we're gonna use it. So let's create a hook for flash mode as well. So flash mode can either be in two forms, either on or off. So by default, let's say it's off, and it's gonna be const flash mode, then set flash mode. So we're gonna link it with flash mode. Yeah. So yeah, there we go. Well, that being said, so let's do some cleaning here. So since it's coming from the same library, let's put it in the same line. So cut it and paste it here and get rid of this line. So that's it. So before accessing any files of a person or your user, we need to ask them permission, especially if those files or items can have some private information. So first of all, we're gonna request for permission. So let's create a function, request permissions. This is a function. So from this function, we're gonna request for camera. So we say request camera permission async. Since this is an asynchronous function, we need to await it because it returns a promise. So we have to await for the promise. I mark the method or the function as async. So we're gonna we're gonna request another. We're going to request another permission, like request microphone permission async. So we're gonna get back here, request microphone permission async as well. And the right place to call this function is in components will mount lifecycle hook. So you're gonna use this from use effect hook. So from the use effect, you're gonna call this function. So from use effect, let's call request permissions. It's right here. So here we are. So before accessing the files, we're gonna check if the user accepted or denied the permissions. So we're going to write a function. Let's write a function to get the permissions. So const get permissions. We're gonna call this function after we have requested for the permissions. So let's check if the user approved the permissions. So I'm going to this and get camera permission async and get microphone permission async. So we're gonna await it, get camera permission async, mark the function as async, and also wait for the get microphone permission async function. So let's check. Okay, so this function has to return a boolean because this permission async returns an object. Let's see the return, the object that's get returned. This is the response. So we can destructure it and see the type of items that get returned. That's just press Control and space and see. So the objects that are returned are granted. If it's granted, the status can also be granted or expires. So in this tutorial, I'm gonna use granted. So let's give it a name like camera permission. Camera permission. And let's label this with microphone permission. So we have to return a boolean to tell the consumer of this function if the permissions are granted. So let's say camera permission dot granted and microphone permission was also granted. So this is the boolean expression. So we're gonna check with the if block. So if we get the permissions, so this will return a boolean. If the permission is granted, it will turn true. So we have to negate it and see if permissions are not granted. We're gonna return an alert from React Native, which is installed right here. So we're gonna alert. We're gonna pass the title, permissions required. The next segment is message. You need to permit to provide the permissions to access the camera. So I'll have to, then we provide the button as an object. So the text will be okay or got it. So got it. So this will be an alert if the permissions will not be permitted by the user. So we'll have this an alert as a pop-up on the screen. Otherwise, you're gonna see the camera on the screen. And note that in this if block, we have used return keyword right here. So if permissions were not provided, then the rest of this code will not be executed. That's why I have used return here. So by now we can test and see how our application is going, how it's working. Unfortunately, we cannot test emulators or simulators. It's said in the documentation. We can only use physical devices. So if you're coding along, you can use your physical device and see how it's going. So by now you should just see the camera without control. So you cannot, there's no button to change flash mode or take a picture or whatever. It's just the camera. So the next thing we're gonna do is just to add those controls to the camera. So you can take pictures, switch camera type or change the flash mode. So let's do it then. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, I forgot to tell the one who are coding along. So if you want to check how this component we just built is going, let's go to the app and replace all this code with the camera, the one we just created. So it's imported here on the top. So it's imported here. So you can just save and see the changes on your emulator. I cannot do it right now because it won't show it anyway. So let's see how we're gonna add those controls. So we're gonna place the controls between the opening and the closing tag of this camera. So you're gonna be right here. But since our emulator cannot show the camera, let's just come here on this app. So I have cleared everything that was here before recording this video. So we're just gonna assume this is our camera and build the controls and see how they will be. So after we finish building them, we're gonna take them and bring them right here. And that will be the end of the tutorial. So real quick, so we are going to have three elements here at the bottom. So we're going to have the rotate camera icon. We're going to have a big white button, but in this tutorial it's going to be black or something so that you can differentiate it from the background. At the right hand side, we're going to have a flash icon so that we can switch the flash mode. So let's use icons, some inbuilt icons in React Native. So we're going to import. In this tutorial, I'm going to use feather icons, but you can use whatever icon you like. So from at expo slash vector icon slash feather. So assuming this, let's assume in this tutorial that view is the camera component that we just created. So the controls, you have to put them in between the opening and the closing tag. So right here, we're going to have a container that's going to enclose the three elements I just talked about. So let's call it a view, just going to be a container. I've used just a container in React Native. So we're going to have view. So in this view, we're going to have feather. This is the icon. So the icon has name. So if you're wondering what the name that we need to put in here, just go to your browser, to Google, search feather icons, click on this first link here, and down here you can search for whatever you like. So we can search for refresh right here. So you're gonna use refresh CCW or CW to rotate the camera. So let's use that. So name is gonna be refresh CCW. The size, I'm gonna say 30. You can put whatever you like. And on press is going to be a function. So for now, let's just ignore it for now. Let's see how it will look first. So we're going to have that feather on the left hand side. In the middle, we're going to have a round icon just like this one right here. So let's put a view. Oh, I forgot, this should be refresh. So we're going to put a view, but in this view we're not going to put anything between the braces. So let's just have the self closed view. And lastly, we're going to have like a lightning icon right here to switch the flow. So it's going to be feather. We're going to go back to the browser and search for something like flash. Also, we're going to use zap off, and zap depending on the flash mode. So zap off, let's say the name is zap off. So name is going to be zap off, zap off. Size is going to be 30 as well. Yeah, here we go. So this is going to be our controls. So let's type this one. Let's type it. Let's link it to styles dot controls container. So we're back. So we have this controls container. In here are the styles. Let's say a background color of blue. This is temporary, of course. We're gonna remove this in the future. So control, so that we can see clearly how it's going to be. So yeah, here it is. So let's have this icon that when we press, we're gonna take the camera, the picture. So we're gonna style it. I say style, so we're gonna say styles dot take picture button. Let's name it like that. You can copy this and put here below here. Let's say background color to white, width to 70, height to 70 as well, and background color, border radius is border radius, sorry, border radius, let's say that 5, so that we can have a perfect cycle. When you take border radius the half of width and height, you're gonna have a perfect cycle. So here we go, we have it. So if while not compulsory, it's good to sort this as we are here so it can be readable. So press Ctrl Shift and P and sort lines ascending. So it's sorted, it's nice. Let's do this one too. So here it is. So we want to make it to be flexible, to be arranged in a row. So these are the items that we're seeing. So to make them be in a row, we have to go to the container. This is the controls container. Let's go here, the controls container, and say flex direction to row. Here they are. So they're in a row. I want them to have space in between so they can breathe out nicely. So justify content, space evenly, so we can have space around them. So here we are having these two icons on top because they are not tall enough to take the whole space. So here if I want to put them here in the middle, so we're gonna use align items. Say align items to center. Let's see. Here we go. Now it's nice, looks nice. So the problem is right now these components are taking space. Obviously this should be at the bottom, but regardless, this takes space, so we're gonna have less screen for the camera. So we have to position this in absolute, so it will be on top of the camera screen. So we have to say position to absolute. Let's see. The computer is a little bit slow. Please bear with me. Okay, this is what we get. So it's time to place it at the bottom. So let's say bottom 0, left 0 as well, right is 0, and see what we get. So it's right here. It looks nice. So for the take picture button, I want to add some margin on the top and below so we can have some space to breathe. So say margin vertical to, let's say 10. Let's see how it's gonna be. Okay, that looks nice. So that's nice. You can, if you want to increase the size of the icons, that's okay with me. No problem. It's up to you. So this is what we get. So that's it. So let's make this color to light blue so they can appear a little bit more pretty. Light blue. So let's sort these styles as well to make it a bit more readable. So Control Shift P, sort lines ascending, save changes. So the task that we're gonna do right now is when we tap or click on this icon right here, we want it to switch with the one that has been stretched through. So this is the flash mode. If you remember in this file that we created, we have this flash mode. This is a state. So to save time, let's copy this line of code, put right here, and paste it here. So we need to import use state from React. It's right here. Okay, let's cut this and paste it right here. Use state. And we also need to import React at the top. Okay, so we need to switch the mode when we press on this icon right here. Oh, we have an error. Oops, I just made a mistake. So this is React Native. We don't have React in React Native, so let's get rid of this and use state, of course. So we need to import React, and use state hook. This should be fine. So on these icons have on press prop, which is a function on press. This is a function. Oh, sorry. I placed it at the wrong place, so it should be here on press. This is supposed to be a function. So here we need to switch the flight mode. So let's create a function that will be called when there's an on press. On press function is called. So we're gonna kill the function switch flash mode. This is a function. This is the function that we called right here, switch function mode. So what are we gonna do when someone clicks here? So we're going to set, this is the method that we use to update the value of this flash mode. So we're gonna set flash mode, we're gonna have here a boolean expression. If flash mode equals to off, you're gonna set it to on, otherwise you're gonna set it to off. And since we are having a one-liner here, we can get rid of these braces and make our code a little bit cleaner, like this. So if the flash mode is off, we're gonna set it to on, otherwise off. So let's test it. Let's test it. So the name of the zap should be applied dynamically, if I call it dynamically based on the flash mode. So here we're gonna have an expression. Let's wrap this in curly braces. If flash mode is off, we're gonna return zap off, otherwise zap. So let's save it. As you can see, it has just changed to be the zap off. So if we click this, it's now on and off. That's nice. So another thing that we should be doing is to switch the camera type right here. So let's go back to camera again, copy this. I know it's wrong to copy code, but please bear with me. So paste this right here and import these modules. Camera type, let's import it from expo camera right here. And so let's write a method to switch the type of the camera. Const switch type or camera type, whatever I call it. I'm just gonna go with switch type. This is a function. We're going to use the same logic to switch a type. So we're gonna say set type to, we're gonna have here boolean expression. If type is equal to camera dot back, we're gonna return camera dot front, otherwise we're gonna return camera dot back. So that's it. Since we have one line, I'm gonna get rid of these braces and have a simple method like this. So it, we want to switch the type of the camera. So on press of this icon, we're gonna have on press to switch type, this switch type. So switch type. By now, if you click it, like me, I'm using the emulator, so I won't see any difference. But someone who's coding along and has a physical device, you're gonna see the difference, but not yet until we go back to the camera. So be patient with me. So right here, this I want to make this button clicked to provide some feedback to the user. So instead of having view, I'm gonna import from React Native. I'm gonna import touchable opacity. So touchable opacity, when I press this button, it's gonna reduce the opacity just to give it the feedback to the user to make it seem clickable. So touchable opacity, like this. So when I click it, it will reduce some opacity. Let's see. You see that effect? Yeah, I like it. So this is pretty much it. So let's take this code and combine with the camera so that we can combine it to be in one file. So let's go. Let's start with the controls container. You can copy it or cut it. So let's copy it. Back to the camera. Inside this closing and opening braces, let's paste it here. We need to import feather on top. Save time. Let me just copy this code. Control C. Camera on the top. Let's paste it right here. We also need to import touchable opacity. right here, searchable ASCII. Save changes. So what else do we need? Okay, now we want to import these methods from the app.js file. So let's copy this methods, copy back to camera. Let's paste them right here. Save the changes. Let's go back to app and see why didn't we carry the create there. Let's see, I think that's it. Or the styles. So let's copy the styles, the controls container, and take picture button. Copy them, go to the camera, and press them right here. I guess this should work. This should work. I don't think there's an error. Let's solve this. So the only thing that is remaining is when I tap on this icon, I want to take the picture. So this is the element that we're talking about. So on press, I'm gonna have on press, and you're gonna call the function to take the picture here. So that function is right here. Take picture async. It's not probably sure right now, but it's right here. So it's a prop to this camera. So how can we access it outside this element? Because we need to have here a function like const take picture async. I'll just say take picture to make it shorter. So we're gonna have it right here. So how are we going to access the prop that is of this camera right here? So we need a reference to it. So from the top, let's import use ref. And create a camera reference. Camera ref is to use ref right here. So we're gonna use this camera as a reference to this camera here. So here ref, let's link it. That's so it's camera ref. It's now linked. So right here, when we press this touch opacity, this image right here, we want to take the picture. So we need to call that function take picture. So save the changes. So here we're going to all the methods or the props that is of the camera is now accessible via camera ref. So we're going to say camera ref dot current. So we need to add a question mark here just in case, just to call current when camera ref has a value, otherwise we get a bug or an error. So dot take picture async. As you know by now, async is an asynchronous function, so we need to await it and mark the function as async, and the response, so the result is URI. You can check it on the documentation, with it and the height of the picture that is stored. So we need to store this URI somewhere. We need a state again. So right here, I'm gonna say use state. I'm gonna make it to initially gonna have a empty string. So I'm gonna say const. You say picture URI and set picture URI. So when we get this URI from the picture that is taken, we need to update the state with set picture URI with this URI. And There you go. Now, after we take the picture, we have the URI of the picture. So with this picture, with this URI, we can upload or whatever you want to do with your application. So I guess this is pretty much it. So we are done here. So at the app.js, you're gonna get rid of this and just say camera. We need to import it on top, of course. You can get rid of this, all these things. And the styles, of course, so we don't need them anymore. Just get rid of the styles. And then use import statements at the top. So here we go. Of course, they're not going to show you in my email letter. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you like it. Bye. You can get this code on GitHub. The link is in the description below in the description. So, but these icons, you can change their color. You can make them white. That's up to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. If you like, be sure to subscribe and share. Thank you.